Hi, so thank you for joining me on today's live session. So last week we covered the famous thing that we all hate hearing is "you're too expensive." And today's session I wanted to evolve that thinking even further to the $1 million bookkeeper. So could we create a solution, or could we create a problem for a bookkeeper or for somebody who's going to quote bookkeeping services, so we could communicate $1 million worth of value to the customer? So in today's session we are going to be covering that, and I hope you enjoy what we're about to cover. So without further ado, let's go through. So how do we increase the value of our services? So if at the moment you're struggling to get £25 an hour, £30 an hour, £40 an hour as an average fee or as a fixed fee, you're struggling with those areas, then I'm going to be sharing lots of tips and tricks as to how to effectively earn more and work less. So how do you increase the value of your services is what I'm going to cover today. So I'm Jamie Selby. I'm a business mentor. I've been mentored by some of the most brilliant minds the world has to offer, and I'm here now to pay it forwards and help you guys as much as I can. So let's play a little bit of a game. So like we did last week, and we were focusing on bookkeeping as a service, I want to play a bit of a game with you when we're thinking about our services, and when we're thinking about bookkeeping in particular, which is often portrayed as a very low value service, and I've got to tell you that is nothing far from the truth, especially now during these COVID-19 times, and the financial turmoil that is being caused for businesses. Businesses don't know whether they're going to still be in business in 6 months' time, 12 months' time. You know, they're starting to understand the value and the relevance of doing cash flow forecasts. They're starting to understand the relevance of doing finance projections. So if they do get these government loans and government subsidies, what's the cost of that going to be to their business? Is it worthwhile them keeping their business open? Etc, etc. And these are all high value tasks that we as accountants and bookkeepers are doing for our customers. And I know a lot of accountants and bookkeepers that are doing this completely for free. Like, they are giving their clients that advice for free. And I do think even in today's times, and it's such a difficult times, that the accountants and bookkeepers that are giving away this for free is I believe very, very firmly that they should be paid for that. And the reason why I think they should be paid for that is because if that bookkeeper was going to be your saviour and going to save your business, would it be worthwhile paying them a huge chunk of money? I think yes, it's a no-brainer. So when we're thinking about this bookkeeping service, and if there's any bookkeepers in the room, this is going to be really, really helpful for you. But for any other business owners, this is also going to be helpful for your mindset to think, well, okay, if we can create $1 million service or $1 million value for a bookkeeper, can I create $1 million value for my web development, for my marketing, for my SEO, for any of my any service-based business? Can I do that? Can I do that? You know, even if you're a contractor, you know, and you're building extensions and things like that, and you're doing things like that, how do you increase the value proposition to your client to get more yeses than nos? How do we do that? So how much is it worth? How much is it going to be? So we're going for the $1 million bookkeeping solution, and the reason why I chose this as a subject is because I was getting asked questions from last week's webinar, and it's really exciting, and I find it really interesting when you open your mind to think about the possibilities. Had you asked me this when I started my my bookkeeping and accountancy practice, I would have said no chance. There's no way you can build $1 million value. Now, I can say honestly, hand on heart, I have helped a client negotiate and win a contract. The initial quote was at $500,000, and admittedly they didn't win it at $500,000. They won it around $280,000. And that was for bookkeeping services. So when we start talking about bookkeeping services and how high value this is as a service, it's mind-blowing when you start to break it down. So let's think about some of the problems that we're going to identify, and the thing is, what I want you to immediately get you thinking about is why you need different customers, and this is how you get to $1 million bookkeeping service. You can get to $1 million bookkeeping service with multiple clients, so you could create $1 million bookkeeping practice with 1,000 clients. That would be very, very easy to do. But to create $1 million value to a customer and then potentially charge $250,000, maybe $300,000 for that service, is we need to be thinking on a bigger scale. Like, if we could help Coca-Cola streamline and get more efficiencies within their bookkeeping department. Now, I don't know how you would do that, because the amount of transactions and the volume of transactions and the different currencies makes me feel a bit ill when I think about it. But if you could, how much do you think they're spending on their finance department? And I think it's going to be a damn sight more than what's on screen now. So immediately we've got $1 million plus solution there, easily $1 million plus solution. Now, if we were just doing Coca-Cola for maybe one state, or maybe the whole of the US, maybe we're pushing more towards $1 million service, actually maybe even higher. So if we were going to be outsourcing, or Coca-Cola was going to be outsourcing all of their transactions and bookkeeping to a bookkeeping firm, we could potentially be saving them a huge amount, because they might be spending millions of dollars on their bookkeeping and their financial transactions. Now we come in with cloud computing, with APIs and Zapier. We're actually becoming more IT technicians than we are bookkeepers nowadays. But if we can solve that problem, what is the cost saving, and can we compound that? So if, for example, in this example here, we've got, it costs them $100,000 a year in employment taxes, employing the staff. Maybe there's 2 members of staff, $50,000 each. It might even cost them more than $100,000 for managing their whole finance. The business is probably turning over in excess of $1 million easily to have 2 full-time bookkeepers. They've got a lot of transaction volume, e-commerce, different platforms, stock management, etc., etc. But if we come in and we can save them, let's say we can save them $50,000 a year, because we believe for $50,000 a year fixed price, we can help their business. If we compound that saving over the next 10 years, that's potentially $500,000. $500,000 in savings for that business over the next 10 years. Now, if you were about to offer me $500,000 savings over the next 10 years, would I be prepared to pay $50,000 a year for that? Yes, it's a no-brainer, because in theory you're saving me $50,000 a year. So whilst it's costing me $500,000, I'm saving $500,000. So the whole service would have cost me $1 million. Actually, probably would have cost me more, including inflation, pay rises, etc., etc. And if there was redundancies, etc., etc., staff changes, training, all of those costs, it compounds even higher than the numbers I'm showing on screen for a large business. Whereas with you've got the economies of scale, because you've already got a department, you've got a whole bookkeeping team. You're building a bookkeeping practice, and if you're building a bookkeeping practice, you want to be building the team not around yourself. You want to be building a bookkeeping team around solving that problem. So what are the cost savings there? Another big problem, customers taking too long to pay. Can we put a value on that? So if we could help Coca-Cola get paid by their customers quicker, could we? Are we going to offer credit terms? Are we going to take away credit terms for customers? Are we going to make customers pay actually upfront for our services and for our products? Which is probably what I think Coca-Cola would be doing. But what's the value in that, and what can we bring? What's the cost saving to the customer? If the cost saving is them not needing overdraft facilities to pay for things, can we quantify that cost saving? And if that cost saving is $10,000 a year, again, compound it over 10 years of potentially working with that client, that's $100,000. So we're at nearly $600,000 worth of savings already. But then even more with the cash flow that's coming in, can we put a cost aspect to that? So if they're able to invest more money into their marketing and growth, what's that worth? Maybe another $20,000 a year. So we're at $800,000 now. Does that make sense? $800,000 of potential value that we could bring to this business. Our reporting takes too long and is out of date. Again, how do you put a value on this? Because when you're producing up-to-date records, you can make decisions based on fact, based on making objective decisions, not emotional decisions. You can see the facts in front of you. You can see, okay, I've got $20,000 cash in the bank. Of that $20,000, $10,000 is for the taxman, $5,000 is for growth, $5,000 is here, so I can't spend anything more. If you've got $25,000, then you've got $5,000 excess. What are you going to do with that excess? Have a system and process in place for dealing with that. But again, what's the value? What's the cost saving to the business owner? What can we put a value on? I can't even put a value on that, because if we think about business owners right now that are struggling to make ends meet, and they've got they're getting these BBLS loans, these government loans and COVID loans, and really struggling. They've not been allowed to open their businesses yet. Revenues decreased because they've not been able to open their business yet. When they've opened their business, they haven't got as many customers as they were hoping for. More customers are shopping online. Like, if you could help that business stay alive and thrive, which is the important bit here, not just to survive. We don't want them to be somebody earning 15 grand a year working 100 hours a week. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. So what's the value in that? And again, could it be another $20,000? Easily $20,000. Compound that over, it's probably, this could be $1 million solution for some businesses right now, because again, think of it as in accountants and bookkeepers practices. So let's say you've got an accountancy business that's got $1 million in revenue, and their business is valued at $1 for each dollar of revenue. So their business is valued at $1 million. Now, if their business goes bankrupt, the business is worth next to nothing. They'll get offered 50p in the pound, maybe even less than that. So they make $500,000. So if you could help, and I know bookkeepers helping accountants, it's probably the wrong analogy here, but I'm just using it as an example for a quick and easy valuation purposes of the value of the input that good financial knowledge. And again, just because accountants and bookkeepers are good at advising other people, sometimes they're not very good at taking their own advice. So again, let's put a value on that. $20,000, compound that over 10 years, we're already at $1 million worth of savings. Does that make sense? Or $1 million worth of value. Then we're paying too much sales tax and VAT. How much is that worth? If that's worth an extra $5,000 a year, compound that over 10 years, we've got another $50,000. So we're at $1,050,000 worth of savings. Again, doing things correctly, not avoiding the penalties, avoiding the charges, not having to pay the staff to do it. All of these things are potential cost savings to our customer. They're all profit drivers, and we can use the 9 profit drivers, as in my book, to really help us identify where we can communicate our value to our customers. Because if we can move any of those profit drivers, we can communicate that with the client and ultimately, hopefully, get to $1 million worth of value. So thank you for joining me in today's session. Short and sweet. As I've been told, my content has been going on for a bit too long. But ultimately, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help you identify one of the best ways of driving profit and driving effectively helping you earn more money and working less, and that is through pricing. There are so many different techniques when it comes to pricing, and I'm going to be sharing every Wednesday. We're going to be having a look at a bit of a value game, trying to make it more interactive and get you involved with the sessions, these live sessions. So please do get involved. Come and join me every Wednesday at 11 o'clock. I'm going to be pushing out some more live content throughout August, so watch out for that as well. But anyway, thank you for joining me. If you have liked, please do like and share the videos that I'm sharing. Share the love, please. I'm wanting to impact as many people as I can, and like I say, normally you would pay a chunk of money for this training, but you are getting it for free and you're getting it drip fed to you on a weekly basis. If you would like more intense training with more how-to guides, I am building a beta program, and if you're interested in the beta program, do put in below I'm interested, and I will reach out to you personally and find out whether you're a good fit for us. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I hope you have an amazing Wednesday. Take care.